Hi, very good afternoon. It's Dean from maverickstar. I created this image using artificial intelligence. What I said was, give me a New York street view of the buildings, but incorporate agricultural in there. And this is what it came back with. I think it did a great job. And I'm going to use probably chat GPT-4 for the images in the future on our channel. Because, you know, I can just create something that I want, that I think about, and let you guys see it, and then we can talk about, you know, some of the principles behind the image. So if you want to use the image, it's mine. You are absolutely welcome to use it however you want, as well as the other one that we've done in the video this morning of the Tesla. So, you know, that was another image I created. I said create, you know, holistic background scenery, but put a multi-coloured rainbow Tesla in the front foreground, and that's what it created. To my surprise, it created actually the reflection on the wet surface. I spoke about this the other day. So, you know, for some people that are looking for a model to probably earn a few extra bucks on the side, you know, this might be the one. You know, people will buy posters of Teslas that own Teslas, and they'll buy images that you create or you encourage artificial intelligence to create. So there's a little platform for you. You know, you get a printer, print it out on some laminate, and send that photograph off to somebody that's willing to pay for it. Simple little business like that, you know, could be that little bit of difference that counteracts the cost of living crisis that a lot of people are going through. So why did I create this image to start with? Because you will never see New York City looking like this, with, you know, the lush green vegetables growing in nice columns and rows like this in that city. New York City is unsustainable, just like any other major capital city around the world. Reason why is because there just isn't the amount of land to produce arable crops that can feed its inhabitants. It's heavily reliant on imports of energy, food, electricity, gas, you name it. So it will never look like this. And why do I even talk about this? Well, you know what, I know. I've got to say this, I know a lot of the subscribers don't like to hear it, but 98% of this world's population are living completely with their heads buried in the sand, hoping that one day things are going to get better, but inevitably they progressively get worse and worse. And until there is significant actions taken to stop this behaviour, to stop this persecution and public enslavement, I'll get onto this in a little bit, it will never change. So let's deal with that. First of all, that word slavery. I encourage you to look in the dictionary right now at what the classification and terminology of slavery is. Because it is a person that is allowed to eat food and have shelter, and must, in order for those things to be rewarded to that slave, must, more importantly than anything, work. I ask you something, a serious question. Does sometimes your life reflect that of that terminology of the slave? It's terrible. It's even worse than that. The true reality is that you are a battery, just like they describe in Matrix, believe it or not. You're a battery, and you have a certain amount of usable energy in your life. You know, you've got a lifespan, just like a battery. But once it starts to deteriorate, doesn't function very well. And we're talking now on the other end of the spectrum, when, you know, we're not talking about batteries, but we're actually talking about human beings. When we get into our elderly years, you know, we become spent, not needed. a burden on the system. It's not fair that somebody should work all their life and still have nothing. It's not fair that, they talk about such things at Davos. Let's not take that what was said out of context, because it was just a suggestion, but the suggested words that were used were, as you're probably already familiar with, you will have nothing and be happy. But I'll just ask you, you have seen homeless people that don't have jobs, that are having no choice but to live on the streets through a continued circumstance of the system, degrading them out of everything. Ask yourself, do you really think they're happy? That they've got nothing? And this leads to some serious problems. I watched an amazing TED talk, and it was on the addictions of drugs abusers, and they did an experiment involving rats, and they put cocaine laced water in one little cage where the rats were. It was probably, say, 10 by 10. It was a relatively big size cage, but the rats would drink the cocaine water because there was nothing else in that cage for them to do. And then they conducted the same experiment using, I must get the first experiment right. So there was ordinary water, cocaine laced water and food, but then in the second experiment there was the cocaine water, there was the ordinary water, food, but there was toys in there, there was female rats in there, and lots of things for the rats to do, and they didn't use the cocaine water. Whereas in the first experiment they was just constantly using the cocaine laced water. And this shows us that, the environment in which people live, when we scale it up to human beings, the environment is a critical factor of whether you're going to take drugs or not. If you find yourself on the street, freezing cold, no food, no friends, no family, you know what? And there's an offer of a substance that will, take the sharpness of the experience that you're experiencing, you're very likely going to take it. That'll be in the form of some drugs or alcohol of some sorts. So, let's get it right. What's happening in our world is absolutely wrong, because we're creating a terrible environment for people to live in, and we're not doing nothing about it. We know that the world is run by corrupt organisations like the United Nations, the European Union, the International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organisation. I could go on and on and on. But you know what? What they sponsor these days is war in Israel, genocide, war, pointless war in Ukraine with Russia, or to support certain outcomes, benefits for themselves. The lobbyists that work for, the munition factories that produce weapons, the military complex, the pharmaceutical complex. It's just one after the next. And you know what? People are getting sick and tired of it. Really sick to the back teeth of it. Because not only are they allowing themselves to wax themselves rich at the extortionate cost of bankrupting all us lot, but they're also, producing things that are making us ill, and to the worst point, killing us. We probably would be better off leaving our world in the control of artificial intelligence, especially if we stopped the corrupt people putting blocks on there that certain people are allowed to get away with breaking the laws. Rishi Sunak had 600 solicitors and barristers just send him advice that what he's doing could be constituted as international crimes in supporting Israel with supplying arms. There is just one scenario. In the last few weeks, the British Royal Air Force have been dropping food aid along the coast of Gaza. And then at the same time, they're supplying Israelis with weapons and armaments to do what they do. Go figure that. If that don't tell you how fucked up our world is and how fucked up our governments are acting, then I don't know what to say to you guys anymore. You know what? I had a massive eye-opener in October when I saw 80% of the funding drop off on this channel. 80% of international funding drop off on this channel. I was shocked. And that's why, we are now only putting the data with regards to that 1G anomaly on our Patreon account. That's why you can only get that information if you're on our Patreon's account. Because you can't tell me 60,000 people can't knock up enough to keep one person running a small observation platform like ours, the observatory, and keep you informed with information. Because I will not believe that ever. There is some, if that's the case, then something seriously has gone upside down in the world, and very rapidly. We're talking just months ago, October. If that's happened, then there is no hope. There is no future. Don't convince yourself of anything otherwise, because you're just pacifying your thoughts and your wants for something that's never going to happen. Because unless these scumbags are shut down, nothing is ever going to change. And I'm talking about the scumbags on YouTube that filter, throttle back the views, block the support links. It's always the same story. Go after the money, shut them down. Do it with the truckers in Canada. Some of those poor people are still in jail over the result of what Justin Trudeau said and accused them of, whilst in the same time applauding a real Nazi. Can you believe that? Giving a stand ovation for a Nazi, a survivor of the Second World War, Holocaust, a real Nazi, and he stands up and gives him a standing ovation. They should get Justin Trudeau, drag him over to Poland, and rub his face in the soil of Auschwitz dirt for that single act, and then chuck his arse in jail for the rest of his days. But this is the world we live in, and this is how blatant these world leaders think they can get away with doing such things in public without any conscience whatsoever. This is what we are actually dealing with. It's not just the corruption and the stealing of taxpayers' money and the misuse of taxpayers' money and the mistrust of taxpayers. It's not just the lies about climate change and CO2, but it is a stack of policies that they've created, even at a time when it is absolutely accepted that the world is living through a cost of living crisis, and still continued to produce policies that impoverish people, allow energy companies to rape people, and food companies to extract the bare skin off our backs for a bit of food. The necessities for life is what's under threat. And then at the same time, those hard-working farmers destroy their business. that has been passed down from generation to generation in a crisis moment where the world's agricultural productive land is going offline because of the changes of our climate. And then throw in the threat of a third nuclear war, or a third world war that could lead to a nuclear event. Let's say that. Absolutely shocking, stunning, and any other word fails me, to mention, because this is an unprecedented time. And yet I see 98% of the world's population not actively involved in changing it. So what we're dealing with is a load of lazy bastards, basically, that are going to bring across, another Holocaust at some point, because that's where it goes from here. You don't realise that there are many different types of cycles. This is just a repeat of 1930s. First of all, the Nazis start silencing certain subjects. Then they start burning literature. And it's not long after that after they've killed people, they start burning actually the bodies of the people. And that's Auschwitz, Poland, and your history. You need to start thinking about these things a little bit more seriously. Are you prepared for what's coming? Are you prepared to just sit on your arse, do nothing, or support people that are trying to change this? We'll see. There's a link down there in the description. Let's see. And let's see just how much you're prepared to support. That's the other thing, isn't it? So what you should do. You take care of your loved ones. As always, bye for now.